Let me ask you something. How many years of your life are you willing to waste before realizing you've been chasing the wrong person? Be honest with yourself, because the truth is, most people don't lose months in dating. They lose years. Years you can never get back. And what I'm about to share with you could literally save you from repeating the same heartbreak over and over again. That rush you feel when your phone lights up with their name, that buzz in your chest when your eyes meet across the room, the spark that makes you lose your appetite and stay awake at night replaying every word, that's chemistry. And I get it, chemistry is intoxicating. It can make you feel like you've just discovered something rare, something magical, something you've been waiting your whole life for. But here's the problem. Chemistry alone is not enough. Too many people confuse chemistry with compatibility, and that single mistake can cost them years. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, "But we just have such a strong connection, I can't walk away"? What they're really describing is chemistry, not compatibility. Compatibility is quieter, more subtle, but infinitely more powerful. It's when your values align, when your vision for life runs parallel, when you both have the same idea of love, commitment, and respect. Chemistry might make your heart race, but compatibility is what makes your heart safe. And in the long run, safety is what sustains love, not adrenaline. Here's the trap. Chemistry tricks your brain. It floods you with dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals that make addiction so hard to break. Suddenly, you ignore the warning signs. You convince yourself that the way they disappear for days without explanation isn't a big deal, because when you do see them, it feels electric. You overlook the fact that they don't share your ambitions, that they avoid serious conversations, that they never ask about your needs. Why? Because your body is addicted to the highs. It's the same as chasing sugar highs, sweet in the moment, but destructive over time. Compatibility, on the other hand, is like nourishment. It might not always feel like fireworks, but it's what keeps you alive and thriving. It's when the person calls when they say they will, when they remember the little details that matter to you, when they show up in ways that prove they're not just excited by you, they're invested in you. Compatibility is steady, and steady is what allows love to grow. If you only chase chemistry, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle. Intense highs followed by crushing lows, months turning into years, waiting for someone to magically become who you need. But if you start filtering for compatibility, asking, do they share my values? Do they respect my time? Do they want the same kind of future I do? You'll save yourself from years of heartbreak. Because in the end, chemistry sparks attraction, but compatibility builds a relationship. The truth is, the biggest time thief in dating isn't meeting the wrong person. It's staying with the wrong person long after you know deep down it's not right. We've all been there. You notice the inconsistencies, the red flags, the gut feeling that something is off, but you silence your own intuition because you don't want to lose what little you do have. You tell yourself they're just busy, that they need time, or that if you just give them enough love, they'll finally step up. What actually happens? Months turn into years, and you realize you've been stuck waiting for someone who never intended to give you what you were looking for in the first place. Walking away faster doesn't mean you're cold, unfeeling, or impatient. It means you have clarity. It means you've recognized that your time is the most valuable asset you have, and you refuse to gamble it on someone who is showing you with their actions that they can't meet you where you are. The harsh reality is that most people don't suddenly change their level of effort. If someone is inconsistent at the start, if they're hot one week and cold the next, that's not a phase, it's a pattern. And patterns don't disappear just because you wish them away. They persist. The irony is, many people stay because they fear being alone. But by staying with the wrong person, you're already alone. You're just alone in a relationship. That kind of loneliness hurts even more because every time your needs go unmet, every time your voice goes unheard, every time your value goes unrecognized, it chips away at yourself, self-worth. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to walk away, because now you're not just emotionally invested. You're invested in the time you've already lost. That's the trap. You keep thinking, I've already given them a year, I can't give up now. But in reality, the longer you stay, the more you lose. When you choose to walk away quickly, you reclaim your power. You stop waiting for someone else to decide if you're worthy, and you decide for yourself. You create space for someone who is not only capable, but eager to love you properly. You send a signal to yourself and to the world. I am not afraid to let go of what isn't working, because I believe in what I deserve. That mindset alone can save you years in dating. Because instead of being trapped in cycles of false hope, you move forward with clarity, self-respect, and the confidence that the right person will never make you beg for consistency. They'll offer it freely. Many people are terrified of raising their standards because they fear it will leave them with no one. They think, if I'm too picky, I'll end up alone. But here's the irony. It's lowering your standards that almost guarantees loneliness, because you'll end up lonely inside a relationship. You'll be with someone who doesn't truly see you, doesn't prioritize you, doesn't value you the way you deserve, and that kind of loneliness is far worse than being single. At least when you're single, you have hope, freedom, and the space to meet someone better. When you're with someone who falls short of your standards, you're stuck in a constant state of disappointment. Raising your standards isn't about creating an impossible checklist or demanding perfection. It's about deciding what the non-negotiables are for your happiness: respect, honesty, consistency, emotional availability. These aren't luxuries, they're essentials. Yet too often, people compromise on the basics because they're afraid of losing a connection. You might tell yourself, well, they don't really make me feel secure, but at least they're fun. Or they don't talk about the future, but we have amazing chemistry. That's settling, and settling is the silent killer of long-term happiness. The truth is, raising your standards doesn't push good people away. It pushes the wrong people away. It acts like a filter. The ones who can't rise to meet you will naturally fall out of your life, leaving room for the ones who can. Think about it. If you don't demand consistency, you'll attract people who thrive on being inconsistent. If you don't value honesty, you'll attract people who are comfortable lying. But the moment you draw a line and hold firm, those who aren't serious will disappear. And that's exactly what you want. Every no you say to someone who doesn't meet your standards is a yes to yourself. Of course, it's not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments where you wonder if you're asking for too much. But remember, what you're asking for isn't too much. It's exactly enough. You're not asking for perfection. You're asking for partnership. You're not asking for fairy tale gestures. You're asking for basic respect. And the right person will never see your standards as a burden. They'll see them as an invitation to show up fully. When you raise your standards, dating becomes less about desperation and more about discernment. You stop chasing validation and start protecting your peace. You stop trying to fit into someone else's life and start building the kind of life that only the right person will be honored to join. And that shift can save you years of frustration, because instead of sifting through endless half-hearted connections, you'll be magnetizing the few who are truly aligned with you. Potential is one of the most seductive traps in dating. It makes you fall in love with an idea rather than the reality standing in front of you. You meet someone and maybe they're charming, intelligent, ambitious, or emotionally deep in fleeting moments, and you think, if only they just committed, if only they dealt with their issues, if only they grew up a little bit, they'd be perfect. And so you wait. You hold onto glimpses, little flashes of who they could be, and you tell yourself that version of them is right around the corner. But here's the harsh truth. People don't fall in love with potential. They fall in love with patterns. And the pattern of how someone shows up for you right now is who they really are. When you chase potential, you become an unpaid therapist, a cheerleader for change that may never come. You excuse their lack of effort by saying they're just not ready. You overlook their lack of consistency because you know they have so much going on. and you justify the absence of emotional availability with the hope that one day they'll figure it out. But the years pass and nothing changes. They're still the same person you met, and you realize you've built a relationship on waiting instead of receiving. That's not love, that's sacrifice disguised as patience. Emotional availability, on the other hand, is the foundation of real connection. It's not glamorous, it's not dramatic, but it's powerful. It looks like someone who answers your questions directly, who doesn't make you guess where you stand, who is consistent in both words and actions. It's someone who not only makes you feel wanted in the good moments, but makes you feel safe in the tough ones. Emotional availability is being present, reliable, and open, not just when it's convenient, but as a way of being. The shift happens when you stop asking, "What could this be in the future?" and instead ask, "What is this right now?" That one question will save you years. Because if someone isn't showing up now, if they aren't prioritizing you, if they aren't making the effort, if they aren't consistent, you can stop tricking yourself into believing that love is a construction project. Relationships aren't fixer-uppers, they're partnerships. Waiting for potential is like sitting in an empty house and calling it home because one day you hope it might be finished. The moment you start valuing emotional availability over potential, everything changes. You stop romanticizing half-effort and start respecting yourself enough to demand full presence. You stop wasting years hoping someone will catch up to you, and instead, you choose someone who is already ready to walk beside you. And when you do that, you won't just find love, you'll finally find peace. When you step back and look at the patterns in dating, you realize the biggest losses don't come from not meeting people. They come from staying stuck with the wrong people for far too long. Chemistry, attachment, fear, hope. They all cloud your judgment and make you invest years into situations that were never going to give you the love you deserve. The truth is, love isn't meant to drain you, confuse you, or keep you waiting. Love is meant to add to your life, not take away from it. And the moment you start applying that truth, you stop losing years and start protecting your most precious resource, your time. Think about it. If you learn to separate chemistry from compatibility, you suddenly stop getting trapped by temporary highs that lead nowhere. If you master the courage to walk away sooner, you stop gifting your time to people who never intended to give you what you're looking for. If you raise your standards unapologetically, you stop settling for half-hearted effort and start attracting the kind of people who are genuinely ready for partnership. And if you focus on emotional availability instead of potential, you free yourself from waiting on promises that never materialize. Each one of these choices is like reclaiming years of your future. Years you can now invest into building a life with someone who truly matches you. This is why the people who thrive in love aren't always the most attractive, the most charming, or even the most experienced. They're the ones who have the courage to say, "No more wasting time." They're the ones who protect their standards, their peace, and their vision for the future. They don't wait around hoping someone will change. They don't chase potential. They don't confuse temporary sparks for lifelong security. Instead, they filter fast, walk away when needed, and hold out for someone who's already ready to meet them at their level. That mindset isn't just powerful, it's transformational. So if there's one thing I want you to walk away with today, it's this. Your time is not renewable. You don't get back the months or years you pour into the wrong person. But you do get to decide from this day forward that you won't waste any more of it. You do get to decide that love should be a partnership, not a project. You do get to choose the standard by which others get to stay in your life. And when you make that choice, when you commit to it fully, you won't just save years in dating. You'll save yourself from pain, frustration, and regret, and instead open the door to the kind of love that lasts. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I know you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here, investing in your growth, your clarity, and your future in love. That choice alone already sets you apart, because most people keep repeating the same mistakes without ever stopping to ask, How do I save myself years of wasted time? But not you. You've taken that step, and I respect you for it. Remember, everything we talked about today isn't just theory, it's a roadmap. Whether it's learning to separate chemistry from compatibility, walking away faster, raising your standards, or valuing emotional availability over potential. Each principle is a tool you can use right now, starting today. And the sooner you put them into practice, the sooner you stop losing time and start building the kind of love that truly lasts. I want you to know this. You deserve love that feels secure, consistent, and fulfilling. Not love that keeps you waiting, guessing, or doubting yourself. Don't let fear trick you into settling, and don't let hope for potential rob you of the happiness you could be living today. The right person is out there, and when you hold your standards high, they'll recognize your value instantly. So, thank you again for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for choosing to grow. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, remember, your time is too precious to waste, and your heart is too valuable to give away cheaply. Protect it, honor it, and never settle for less than you deserve. Goodbye for now, and take care.